We're on the air.
Is that the air?
It's gonna have a slight delay. But.
We're good?
We're good.
We're good to go?
Sweet.
Awesome. Hey, everyone. Welcome to SGA Q&A Live. I'm Adam Wagner. I'm the SGA Communications Director. No, I'm not even talking. What's happening?
That's discouraging.
We might be live, but there's no way to know.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Great. Hey, everyone. I'm Adam Wagner. I'm the SGA Communications Director. Welcome to SGA Q&A Live. Yeah, I'm excited. Here are our three lovely, beautiful people. Let me have them introduce themselves to you.
Hi, I'm Steve Clark. I'm the SGA chaplain.
I'm Kristen Hayes. I'm the SGA Vice President.
Hi, I'm Matt Pounds. I'm from Indiana, and I'm the SGA President.
What a lovely group of people. Okay, so you've been sending in your questions, and we're super excited to ask them. You can keep sending them in too, and we'll have our marketing guy, Andrew Spencer, feed them into me secretly, and then I'll ask him. It'll be super fun.
It's not a secret if you just told them that he's feeding them to you.
But they can't see him, so he's secret.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, let's start off with a light question. Get things, before we sizzle it up too much. We got to start light. Okay. If you were an instrument, what would you be, Steve?
Probably an oboe, because they're very rich and complicated with a lot of keys and things on them, and my ex-girlfriend didn't like them very much.
Oh.
Yeah.
Let's hope she's not watching this.
That would be a surprise.
If you were an instrument, Kristen, what would you be?
Man, I think I would be an accordion. They seem good.
Okay.
They have a good vibe to them.
You want a good vibe?
Yeah.
Do you think you have a good vibe now?
No.
Matt, what would you be?
Yeah, I would probably be just a piano. Traditional. The keys are all kind of ordered and nice. Things are black and white, and I'm really drawn to that sort of thing.
Yeah. You think you're really a traditional guy?
Yeah, you're the most traditional person I know.
Yeah, and and you learn to play it in a very methodical way as well. So yeah, I would be piano.
Cool. Very nice. Okay, let's get a little deeper now. Steve, what have you learned in leading SGA over the past year? And for you, actually, 2 years.
Yeah. What have I learned I think I've learned that nobody actually really knows what they're doing. And that sounds really critical at first, but I think what I've realized is suddenly at some point you kind of realize you're an adult. You're doing adult things, you're having adult conversations. I always kind of thought there was some sort of magic to the way just chapels develop, and then I realized, I'm actually in charge of planning these out and meeting them. And you both realize how empowering and terrifying that is. I've learned to take a lot more risks. I've learned that people can be wildly encouraging and sometimes wildly disconcerting. I guess what I've learned as a whole, it's hard to pick just one thing to describe it, but I think that's been a big thing, is just realizing, there's nothing inherently that just makes you suddenly able to lead. We kind of learn to do it as we're going about it, and learn to do it with humility, because none of us have it just naturally perfectly ingrained.
Yeah, nice. Kristen, what about you?
I think I've learned what humility looks like better. And it's not just staying away from self-promotion, but it's actively listening to other people and what they have to say, and realizing that you don't necessarily know everything, regardless of the things that you think you've had experience with beforehand, but that there are people who do know better than you, and even if their ideas aren't necessarily better, that you can still learn a lot from them. So just how humility works when you're interacting with people.
Cool. Matt, what has SGA taught you about leading? Or just anything?
Yeah, man, I could talk for an hour probably about the stuff I learned. I had a lot to learn coming in. One thing that I wasn't expecting to learn though is, so the past 3 summers I worked at a summer camp, which I really love. And we talk a lot there about how when you're working with kids, they're really looking to you as the counselor to sort of set the tone for their week at camp. And so we talk about how, like, suppose you wet the bed, or suppose you're feeling ill, or suppose you're really tired of French toast sticks for breakfast. It's still important to be excited for the campers' sake. And we call that faking the funk. That's what we call it at camp. So coming into this year, I mean, we're obviously not working with kids. We're working with our peers. We're working with adults. But I'm really authenticity driven and really honesty driven, to the point of I often compromise relationships in pursuit of saying what's true. But I think a healthy dose of leadership isn't necessarily faking the funk, but making sure you're at least kind of funky. Even if you feel bad funky, it takes a little bit of reorienting to make sure you're keeping everyone's energy level high. Because at the end of the day, a leader is someone who people are looking to set the tone. And if you're setting a bad funky tone, no one's gonna have a good funky time. So yeah, I think I wasn't anticipating to learn that there's a healthy funk to leadership.
Nice. Awesome. Remember, you can keep sending in questions, so do that out there wherever you are. A lot of people ask this next question, and I asked myself this question when I was an underclassman. So let's get the answer out there. It comes in different forms, but like, what does SGA actually do? Behind the scenes, in this office right here, what do we do? I want to start with Matt. Like, what does the SGA president actually do?
Yeah, great question. Well, as with, I would guess, most manager positions, anytime you're in charge of managing people, if I think about what I actually do too much, I can maybe have a little bit of an existential crisis, because in terms of evaluating output, as we normally think of output, what we're putting out materially, whether we're acquiring more material things or dispensing more material things, and then correlating that with success. That doesn't happen a lot, especially for the SGA president and the SGA vice president. So if I think about it in those terms, I don't do a whole lot. So that Steve's been helpful to kind of have a paradigm shift in thinking about, yeah, what do I do in this role? So apart from the weekly meetings with John Wood, and then we also meet with the other directors of student life, those being Brian Burns and Dan McDougall. We meet with them pretty frequently. I do a lot of thinking about how the network of relationships between the 11 other people who are on we call it the Tiger team, but it's the executive staff of SGA. The other 11 people, I think about how we're interacting together as a team. What are more healthful ways that we could interact to do more positive things for students? Structurally, are there changes we can and should be making? And then what's the best way to go about doing that? So yeah, I mean, it feels like a cop-out to say, like, I spend a lot of time thinking about SGA, an embarrassing amount of time thinking about SGA, but I feel like that's what I do. Kristen's really good at doing the more tactile stuff, which is why I thought she would be a really good vice president.
Yeah, that's really nice. Kristen, tell us more about like the behind the scenes stuff. Like, what goes on in the office? What does the Tiger team do? What happens in SGA?
Yeah, we handle a lot of student life things. So all of the business happens through us. Anytime you become an org, anytime orgs put on events, we kind of facilitate all of that. We have somebody who is completely in charge of rallying the community of campus and putting on events and stuff to unify people. We have people who do our marketing and our media for different events, events like Org Wars and New Student Talent Show or Variety Show and Leave are all done through SGA. We've done some marketing for the athletic department and just trying to get students involved with different things on campus. We have our philanthropy project, which is this year local, so getting to plug people in with the community around us. But day to day, like in the office, we're just trying to connect with different people on campus as well as make those programs and events happen. So talking to the different people we need to get approval for things and making sure all the details are down for org wars and whatnot.
Awesome. Steve, you're one of the more like upfront people of SGA. You know, people see what you do, lots of Fridays. What are more of the behind the scenes stuff that the chaplain does on SGA that people don't really get to see?
Nothing. I just kind of just no. That's true. I actually don't even prepare. I'm just filled by the Spirit every time. I specifically with the chaplain role, I basically plan out every SGA chapel. So I have when that comes to the announcements of facilitating that, the media, whatever videos that we have, working together with Caleb for the worship and just the whole flow of the chapel, then along with the sermon preparation. So that's obviously my central function, is just being completely in charge of every facet of chapel. I also work with the Chaplains Council, which is essentially a committee of class ministry leaders. A lot of the people Kristen mentioned also have committees that they'll work with, kind of facilitating of reaching out into the broader range of students. Which I think kind of goes to that question is I wondered kind of for a long time myself, what does SGA really do? Even when I was on SGA at first. And I think I started to realize after a while that our SGA at Cedarville might look different than other schools' SGAs. You know, SGA doesn't just mean we get a rule repealed or like change one certain aspect about university life. I think Matt and I have had a lot of really good conversations about this, about influencing others with positive energy and about developing that network of relationships. Really what it's about is, well, it's the hub of student life. So as we do all the practical things that Kristen mentioned, the focus that we're doing is building memories, is building relationships, and doing that through the student platform that we have. So when it comes to the chapels, I mean, yeah, that's a practical thing that we do, but even the goal of that is, okay, what do students need to hear and how can we influence them in positive ways using the role that we've been given?
Awesome. Good answers. Keep sending in questions. Is it true that Matt Pounds lives in an RV on campus? Let's address that rumor.
I think there are facets of that are true.
Yeah, no, that's not true.
No, not true.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Just a rumor.
Just a rumor, guys. He doesn't live
The
in
facets
an
aren't,
RV on campus.
facets aren't true.
Where would I park it? I wonder.
You could park it in
You couldn't park it
the
anywhere.
lake or something.
Yeah. On the way.
Steve, what is your opinion of Hollywood superstar Shia LaBeouf?
Oh man, it's hard to summarize. It's really shot up recently.
Yeah.
Initially, it was kind of like, okay, not really too exciting. And then there's a certain video called Shia LaBeouf Live burst out on the internet, and it's kind of changed my life. If you haven't seen it, I really highly recommend it. It's really hard to describe, but it's one of those things that kind of it really undergirds my faith in a lot of ways, not just in humanity, but in the fact that this isn't all some cosmic accident, because some beautiful things like can't just come to be, you know. So Shia LaBeouf is a representation of something far greater than just a human being. He's a representation of what we all strive for, and he's got a killer beard.
Yeah, everyone's got beards nowadays.
It's terrible. I can't.
I tried to make him grow a beard.
Me?
Shia LaBeouf.
Last summer. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I cut myself shaving the other week. I still kind of got a scar. Yeah. I started using shaving cream though, so
I never.
Sorry, this doesn't. Yeah. I didn't.
Kristen,
Yeah.
have you ever been pulled over?
Yeah.
Please tell us.
Wow.
this.
Should she laugh?
Yeah.
Can pump this one.
The first time that I ever got pulled over was last year, cleaning up after a leave.
I was
You
privy
were
to this.
in the car with me.
Yes.
I
This
was
is a good
borrowing
story.
Tristan Ferry's truck to take the ticket booth to Phil Ford's house, which is literally like 500 feet away from school.
She was also committing about 7 legal infractions.
Yeah, I didn't have my seatbelt on. I didn't have my license. I didn't have my headlights on. I had 2 people in the back of the truck bed.
Don't think you used a turn signal.
I hadn't turned yet. I was on Main
The
Street the
car
whole
wasn't
time.
registered.
Straight.
Anyways,
Seatbelt wasn't on.
Already stolen. The car was stolen.
yeah, Tristan Ferry
Basically.
stole his car. So
It
yeah,
wasn't
this
registered
police
either,
officer came. I turned onto Phil Street and the house was like 100 feet in front of me. And she was like, "Do you realize there's a big ticket booth like hanging out of your truck?" It's like,
Nope.
no, I didn't know. And then she asked to see my license, and I said I didn't have it, so I gave her my Cedarville ID and everything like that. And then she asked for the registration, which Steve so kindly tried to find, and we gave it to her, but she couldn't find it. It was a mess. Luckily, she didn't give me a ticket, but I told her there's still 2 other pieces that have to come here. He kind of scowled at me, and then I just kept going.
Man, that's what happens behind the scenes.
Yeah,
For real
that's
though.
what
Getting
happens.
pulled over on Main Street.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry.
Steve almost dropped the horse. Hey, quick shout out. My mom is watching this. I love you so much, Mom. Thank
Go
you for
Trish.
I
everything.
wonder if my dad's watching this.
Yeah, Steve's dad is watching this too. Maybe. Okay,
No,
let's
it's
get a little
just
serious
not yet.
again. Matt, how do you see yourself shaping the Cedarville community?
Oh gosh. Wow. I hope that responsibility hasn't fallen to me for everyone's sake at Cedarville.
Elaborate on that.
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. I don't necessarily think that I've done much to shape Cedarville's community. I don't think that we really wanted to come into this role thinking about it in terms of doing something like that. Although SJ does contribute to the community at Cedarville, I would say, now I'm thinking about how community even forms at Cedarville. Like Chick-fil-A informs the community.
Chicken patties with fries.
Chicken patties.
Yeah. Yeah, there are a lot of people working to form the community here. So yeah, I would say that I haven't thought about how I'm doing that, so maybe I should. But yeah, I would push that responsibility more towards Chick-fil-A.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
It's
Steve,
more
what about
powerful.
you?
Anyways.
Ways that
Ways that you see yourself shaping the community?
that is kind of a terrifying responsibility when you think about it. I think what I've started to realize is kind of everybody does in a way. Everybody who is in your sphere of influence shapes you or pushes you in some direction. I mean, I can't really point to specific sermons where I've been influenced. I can't do
Secret.
secret, very secret. I can't point to like specific sermons that have influenced me in a certain direction, but I can like as I'm preaching, as I'm preparing, I can look at the sermon that's come out and realize like so much of this was guided by past experiences or sermons that I've sat under, and I can't even say who said what's influenced me in this way, you know? So I don't really know to what extent I've personally shaped the community. I know obviously through, by the time I graduate, I've spoken, I think 34 times in chapel, which is a lot. That's like 17 hours of people having to listen to me speak. So I know that influences the community in some way. But I think to predict how would sound kind of pretentious, you know? So the way I hope that I influence it is just I'm a painfully positive person. Like I'm sorry about how overwhelmingly and overbearingly positive I can be. But the reason that I'm like that is I feel like there's a lot of joy that we sometimes overlook. And I think getting to be in this position and getting to have the opportunities and interactions I get to have, I hope it reflects on the fact that even though things sometimes are bleak and frustrating and college life can be like everything's kind of constantly on fire all the time, there's still something to be joyful for.
Kristen.
My favorite thing to do is just talk to people. So I love getting to. Did you just eat something off the ground?
Keep going.
Yeah, I thought it was a peanut.
Gosh. So yeah, I enjoy like getting to talk to people who stop by the office. When I'm like working at Renova, getting to talk to people over there. Just kind of hearing what's going on in people's lives and connecting people with each other that should be friends but aren't.
Nice. Well, my marketing guy is passing me more questions. Would it be possible to put Chick-fil-A on campus? Why or why not?
Speaking
No.
of Chick-fil-A,
Speaking of Chick-fil-A.
I mean, we've got the room for it.
man,
Didn't we tear down Collins?
So oddly enough, there is an answer to this question, and we were recently talking with John Wood about it. This might cause an uproar, and John Wood might be just excited out of his home by the energy. But I think it's more of a hypothetical question than anything. So as Cedarville shapes and changes and old buildings come down and new structures go up, I think what I've heard going around is it would be something to think about, putting an SJ in the town of Cedarville, but ultimately that's what
Chick-fil-A. He said SGA.
yeah, Chick-fil-A in the town of Cedarville. But ultimately,
Not on campus.
not on campus. Yeah, I don't think it ultimately falls to the township, as far as I know. I don't know though.
Okay, interesting.
Oh, we tearing down Faith. Maybe we could put Chipotle there.
Yeah,
We should just tear down more
You
buildings
should,
and build
after you
up.
graduate, you should own that franchise.
You're right.
Yeah,
Like,
you could
we'll
just
preach at
stay.
his church.
It's probably not Chipotle though. Their future is kind of iffy right now.
Yeah, the whole eco. But I saw this tweet that was like, if Chipotle thought they could win back my trust with a free burrito, they were right. Because
It's true. I just
we
went
went.
there.
yeah. Okay.
Won us over.
I'm gonna ask Steve this question. If you could go back to your freshman self, if you could go back, and say to your freshman self, like, what would the you now say to your freshman self back then?
I would actually say stop being envious of people's lives on Facebook. Because I spent a lot of my freshman year trying to build up friend groups because of the illusion that everybody else had it better than I did. I had a lot of acquaintances, and later on in my freshman year, I developed a very solid group of friends. But I spent so much time during my freshman year kind of trying to develop an image, trying to develop, manufacture happiness, and manufacture fulfillment through being as busy as I could. Like, everybody else looked like they were busy or involved or had good groups of friends or whatever the case was. And I mean, I had some good friends and I was involved in a few things, but I felt like I could never be satisfied, like I could never do enough, I could never be good enough. And wouldn't say any of those things, but like, honestly, I wasn't content with myself unless I was so busy that I didn't have time to think about all those things. So that's how Bronchitis Steve came about freshman year, was when I pushed myself so hard, even when I was sick. I refused to slow down. I would play intramural frisbee games when I had bronchitis, and it just, I don't even remember March or April of that year because I was pushing myself so outrageously hard. And I think the thing that I learned is like, and it's something I'm still learning, is my contentment and my fulfillment isn't found in who I am to other people. It's simply the fact that I won't ever be good enough or ever do enough, but that's not what we need to do for Christ. Like, our satisfaction, our fulfillment is already paid for. That's about, it's already been won, and we can't win that more. Those works are an evidence of our faith. They're an evidence of our fruit. But we don't need to do things in order to prove ourselves to God, to anyone else, or to ourselves.
That's really deep. Good answer. Kristen, so what would you now say to freshman year, Kristen?
I am in general, like, naturally a person who enjoys doing things, being around other people. And because of that, I think it's sometimes hard for me. I don't really think about who I am as just myself. So I would say spending time alone more and thinking inwardly is something that I should have started since freshman year, so that I would have a better sense of myself as a person before trying to interact with others.
Matt, what about you?
Yeah, I have two. So first of all, I would say, yeah, man, don't keep going with the hair. Don't get it cut. But I would also give myself the advice that at the end of the day, society is really counting on you to come out of here with some really good ideas about how to promote the health of humanity. That's what you're here to do for the next 4 years. So that's what you should be doing. And there are like other arbitrary things that I'm 100% gonna forget about. That is, not using my time wisely. So I would say to myself, make sure you stay more disciplined to your academic study.
Thanks. Did you make that t-shirt? And is it for sale?
This is the bookstore made this. No, this is the Tristan Ferry Hour. This is Tristan's t-shirt. So sometimes I wind up taking a shower at Brock, and without clean clothes. So I think if this is like on a month loan or something.
Okay. Maybe you could sell it afterwards.
Yeah.
To whoever wants
If
to buy
anyone
it.
is interested, yeah.
I would-
Starting at $50.
Yeah.
Starting
$50.
there.
I'd buy a shirt for it by now.
I auctioned a fracture of my tooth one time.
All right, move on.
It went for 21 bucks.
Um,
Sophomore year,
Who bought it?
Ben McLean.
Wow.
Is Matt's beard real? If so, prove it.
All right. Yeah. I don't know how we would prove this, but it is real. It comes and goes. I sometimes shave it. I usually say that one of my top 10 favorite things to do is have a mustache, and so sometimes I'm overwhelmed by that desire, and then I just shave my whole beard off. But right now I'm really feeling the rhythms of beard growth, so I think I'm gonna go for a while.
Good. Okay. What happened to the plans for the solar panel field and the shooting range? Did that ever come to fruition? Some concerned people want to know.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I know. But
There's
so
TV.
right, they put a solar TV. I think they put a solar TV upstairs in the SSC.
You can track how much energy the solar panels are producing.
Where's the solar panel field?
The energy from the solar panels powers that TV. That tells you how much.
Yeah,
Actually, the solar field, it's kind of like right near the Indian Mounds by the wastewater management plant. I got lost one time and I found
Cool.
I think the plan is to make it a shooting range, though. That's what it's gonna. As we realize that renewable energy is bogus, we'll just turn that into a shooting range, multi-purpose.
We could make it like a
Dr. Mike would
paintball
like
court,
that, I
probably. You got a lot of things you can hide behind.
Today I was in Tyler and there was a closet that just said Cedarville Marksmanship Club. So there's guns in that closet in Tyler.
How did they get that closet?
I don't know. I'm really confused. Man. Okay, this is what one dude wanted to know. What can you do to create more campus activities for students?
I don't know why anyone needs more.
Okay,
There's a lot of campus activities. All you have to do is check your email every day, and there's 10 emails saying come to this tonight. So I guess it would be a question more of what kind of campus activities do you want, and maybe the ones that we have right now aren't activities that people want to go to. And if that's the case, then tell us, and we'll stop doing those so we can do new ones that are better.
Yeah, sweet. Tell us what to do.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Here's an interesting question. To what extent are you satisfied or content with where the Cedarville community is presently at? I want all three of you to answer this.
I think it's a very hard thing to say because I think everybody kind of has a different vision of what a community should look like. For example, like as I recently talked about, I've got different theological meanings, so some different philosophical meanings. So my idea of what might look like, oh, good, this is a really like, this is something we should be going after, this is something the community should stand firm for, might look different than what Cedarville's stance would look. So I think it's hard for us to say specifically like, this is a direction I want to see the community go, or this is. That said, I think it's hard. It's hard to summarize a few years because there's been so much turnover and a lot of change. But I think what we're starting to see positively is that people really are getting involved and invested in what they want to do. Like the people who are involved in SGA, they want to see things happen, not just some sort of arbitrary sense of change. I think that's changed from like, we just want to change everything. Like success is defined by we make something happen, as opposed to, okay, success is reflected by how we're carrying out our lives. I mean, it's really hard to pin down a whole community because some people will buy into it, some people won't. It's going to reflect really differently on every single person. And I think we all are going to have kind of different views of what a successful community would look like. But I can say that I've been blessed by the community here, that I've been encouraged in very concrete ways by a lot of people, and I think it's headed a good direction. So I think it's something that we're going to keep growing in. It'll probably look different in a few years. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah. Kristen.
I think that one thing Cedarville's community does really well is encouraging one another and coming behind each other when people are having difficult times. And pushing each other to do better. But I think that we have a lot of room for improvement still in the area of tearing each other and things down. We're a community that likes to find something to complain about and just keep attacking it. And we don't really necessarily always try to find a solution to make it better. We just keep going with complaining. And that's something that I think we should do better is if we see a problem, addressing it and trying to make it better without groaning and mumbling about it.
Yeah, maybe kind of tying together a little bit of both of what Kristen and Steve are saying. One thing that's unique about Cedarville and that I really like is that I think our hearts are uniquely in the right place. It's a group of, I guess, probably 4,000. We start to count some of the auxiliary members that are really trying to figure out what they believe is the right thing and then trying to act in the right way. So there's no things that maybe seem malevolent. I want to believe that they aren't intentionally so. And I think that that's unique and true about the Cedarville community, and that's something that's really, really great about the community. And in terms of areas where we could be more helpful, areas that would contribute to my satisfaction, I think a lot of it has to do with something that Kristen was maybe hitting on there at the end, which is understanding the relationship of self to community and taking an approach of not what does the community owe me, but instead like what role am I playing in this community, and then a constant examination of my own personhood and kind of expanding elements of my character or expanding my skill set to make a bigger contribution to the community. And that's what I think I forget too easily at Cedarville is there are a lot of areas that I'm still expanding into, not just at Cedarville, but then also in the surrounding communities, Xenia, Springfield, Dayton, even the town of Cedarville. Gosh, there are so many ways to expand into the kind of person that could make a productive contribution to those communities. And that's where I often think I have to remind myself to think in that way, that it's a personal responsibility to the community that I'm situated in And yeah, our overall analysis of community health is really just an assembly of all of those little personal health. So I don't know. I mean, I'm always trying to commit to be more personally healthy, and we want that for everyone.
Yeah, I think it really is something that it is what you make out of it. You can find a very negative community if you want to. It's there, but I think there's also a lot of positive that can come out of it too.
ESV or die?
ESV.
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 Man, yeah, die. I would rather die than most things, I think. So for sure, die.
Nice. Okay. What's your most embarrassing seasonal moment?
3 years ago.
He's got it.
I know.
It's the milk story.
It is the milk story. I'm surprised this is even being asked. But I'd be glad to tell it again because there's a new twist that I didn't know about until this year.
Oh,
That's right. I was a freshman. It was October. I was in Shucks. I was doing the utility shift, which basically they're the people that fill the machines with ice and then change the milks and stuff like that. I was changing one of the milks and talking to a couple of my friends. And I was looking and talking at them. I made some sort of joke and we were laughing. And I felt a little tug. Now, as I turned back, I realized the nozzle on the milk bag had ripped off. And the entire container of milk was spilling out directly over the counter right onto my pants. Just like full river of it. Like these things are like, it's like 5 gallons of milk,
Yeah.
which is a lot of milk. It's all over my pants. It's saturating my pants. It's all over the floor. It's all over the counter. It's just everywhere. I'm a freshman, so I turn around and there's everybody. The smoke section's filled. It's noon on a Saturday, so like all the bro sisters are there.
I was there.
You were there. So everybody started applauding, which was nice. And so we got a couple of people to help start cleaning up. And we're cleaning up, and we're putting all the leftover milk into a 5-gallon bucket, which we're then going to go dump as we're like cleaning it up and like mopping it out and everything. And then I opened the milk container to clean up the inside of that, and I knocked the bucket over and spilled all of the milk again. And as I started cleaning that up, I took out the mop to clean it out, and I knocked the ceiling tile out of place. And it stayed. At that point, I was just like, forget it. It stayed that way for like 3.5 months. But one more part that I learned was when I was just starting to clean off this milk. There's milk everywhere. Everybody's applauding. Somebody walked by and put down one napkin on the milk spill. Like there's milk literally everywhere, and he puts down one napkin. Like who the heck would do that?
Right.
It was Caleb Peterson.
No way.
That was our first interaction.
Peterson.
I learned that this year.
Wow.
Yup.
Caleb
We
Peterson
see
is,
you, Cam.
is what's wrong with the Cedarville community.
Man,
I'm
that was a really
Truth.
depraved action.
It was. He was trying to help.
Wait, Steve,
Yeah.
this would contribute to my mental picture of this story. Were you wearing one of those little
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Was
I
that
think I don't think
saturated?
it didn't have the front. It was all the pants.
Okay.
I had an hour left of my shift.
Did you leave?
No, I finished the shift in my milk saturated pants. And then I went back to my dorm and took off my pants and threw them in the wash. And I emailed Becca to say, I'm sorry, I can no longer work my utility shift due to schedule overcommitments. That was, I think, the first and last time I lied at Cedarville.
Wow.
Steve's
That's good.
man.
Yeah, it was a big moment. It was a rough time.
Kristen, what's your most embarrassing seasonal moment?
I can't compete with Steve's, but yeah, my most embarrassing moment is one that I can't necessarily say right now. But if you want to know more, ask Patrick Coleman.
Okay.
Yeah.
Patrick Coleman, philanthropy director. Ask him.
Yeah, he can tell you.
Matt, you have to give an answer because Kristen copped out.
Wow, geez, my most embarrassing Cedarville moment. I think maybe. Yeah. Okay. So, I lived in Brock for a semester. I think I was living in Brock at one point in my Cedarville career.
Can't really remember.
And that was when Brock to the Rock was still happening actively, and the rules on Brock to the Rock are very clear now. But I think I remember. I'm protecting myself here. They were kind of ambiguous at that time. The rules were still ambiguous. It's still kind of up for
It
debate.
was back when Steve would clear the roads.
Yeah,
for you
yeah,
guys to go,
right. Yeah, the campus safety. Yeah, so it's kind of, is this supported? Anyway, yeah, I had this football helmet in my room. It's actually back there, and we had constructed a little shrine for it. So there was a light inside of it that would come beaming out, but the light heated up the inside of the football helmet, so the plastic melted. But in the excitement of everyone getting ready to do Back to the Rock, I just put that helmet on. And so, yeah, I did the run all the way to the rock. And yeah, even though the rules were ambiguous, I was very clothed. I was wearing all my clothes, with plus the football helmet, so more modest. But the plastic, because it had melted, carved this huge like abrasion into my forehead. So I was wearing that abrasion for like 2 weeks after the fact. And after that last time that I ever did Rock to the Rock, then the rules became very clear. So after that time, people would say, like, where did you get that? And I didn't want to say Rock to the Rock. So I would just like say, oh yeah, man, I don't really bonked my head or something like that.
What was the abrasion like shaped like?
Like a little like a stalagmite or something, like a little dangly.
Yeah.
Thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty embarrassing. Mm-hmm.
Yikes. Okay, let's get a little serious again. Steve was kind of hitting on this before, with like rule changes and how we're defining success and stuff. Definitely in terms of SGA. This person asked, why don't things ever change? You know, we're always talking about dress code and curfew, stuff like that, but nothing ever changes. So give us some insight as to why things are never changing.
That's a beautiful question, because I think we also feel that frustration sometimes as students on SGA.
Yeah.
The honest answer is bureaucracy. So that's not what I was anticipating about being involved in general with organizations, but yeah, SGA is very much an organization as anything else. So, like, for example, we've drafted building hours and we've talked about building hours and moved those things along, but then those things have to be moved along to other departments, and people just have a lot of work. So I guess maybe we're particularly sensitive to slow changes in terms of our millennial generation. But yeah, I think bureaucracy is the primary reason things don't change. It just ultimately, there's no easy answer to anything. Like, this is, oh yeah, we should do this, and then it just manifests.
Yeah, specifically with building hours, it's hard because we wish that one person could make the decision to change all building hours, but once we took it to John had to talk to the academic vice president and the people who manage campus safety. There's a lot of different people that are involved. So John can't just make the decision to say building hours are changed because he's not the only person involved with it. So it just takes a lot of time to discuss and get everybody to agree on something.
It's easy for us to kind of see it from one perspective. We're here for 4 years and there's not a lot of change and things just kind of happen and that's that. But like, when I was talking with John, he reminded me, like, even like what the collared shirts for guys thing changed how a few years ago, like just a few before we came, it feels like an eternity ago. Like things happen on a slower scale, and we feel really removed from them. So when we don't see immediate change, it feels like nothing is happening, even if it might be. But on the flip side too, I think change is just maybe done in a different way. Like we were talking about earlier, different schools might have different approaches to student governments or different approaches to what they're constructing. And I think it's not wrong or bad to say Cedarville might be different. Maybe you could argue Cedarville might be weak in the fact that it doesn't have a whole lot of changes. But Cedarville does that because they're striving towards something different. Maybe I might complain, for example, about open dorms because I have a lot of friends who are girls and it can be kind of awkward to plan to hang out because it's like, especially before I was dating somebody, like, am I trying? Well, no, I'm not trying to make a move on you. I just actually want to hang out. But if you could just go over to the dorm, it would be so much easier. But Cedarville's got the stance it does on that because they're trying to cultivate a certain culture. And with dorms like Lawler and Printy, for example, it just really wouldn't work because, like, the connecting bathroom and showers and whatnot. But like, I think sometimes it's hard to realize there's a bigger picture besides what we just see right here. And that even if things aren't changing in the way that we would like to see, usually there's a lot more behind the scenes that we're aware of, and it's not all bad necessarily.
That was a really good answer, guys. I got more questions. This one's hilarious. Can we have more dances that don't feel like 7th grade?
Man, I wish. No.
Why?
Yeah, no, I feel really passionate about this one. Couple reasons. We want to make sure the media that we're putting in our minds is wholesome, and thankfully, when student life sanctions a dance, they set the standard for what's wholesome. So we're indebted to them for that. Luckily, we don't have to do the mental exercise of trying to discern our media morality. But so for me, that's why sometimes they get that feel a little bit. It's censored, like it's a censored dance for institutional preference reasons. But yeah, man, dancing.
Yeah, it's whatever school you go to, you're going to have pluses, you're going to have minuses, and if you gain one thing, you're going to kind of lose another. What Cedarville might lose in making a lot of sanctioned things and maybe a very conservative approach to some areas, it does gain in the culture that it's trying to put forward, and in the fact that it honestly has been a very, you could argue whether this is positive or not, but it's been a greenhouse of growth for me in some ways. It's not like I'm not exposed to anything out there, I'm just sheltered, but like at the same time, it's a comfortable environment of growth because there's not a whole lot of stuff going on that I came out of high school like the real world. But like, it's because Cedarville was trying to communicate an overall culture. So I think like we gain some things, we lose some things. If we want to have one thing, we lose another. It's kind of a delicate balance.
Yeah, I will say this though. There is going to be a killer dance coming up because we were responsible for planning that. Patrick Holman and the philanthropy committee. They're going to have a dance-a-thon, which is the definition of a not 7th grade party. It goes all night, or it goes all day, or it goes for an extended period of time. That's coming up in March. So
March 18th.
March 18th.
March 19th.
So I would definitely get that on my schedule now. And I want to say also quickly, this is a good example of the self-growth contributing to the community, right? Because our ability to dance informs the overall dance experience. So yeah, we need to get in and be practicing in our rooms. I think, if we want the dance.
Exactly. Take part in the fact that you can dance however you want in your room.
Right, you can really shred it.
However you want.
Yeah.
In front of your roommate.
Yeah. Or when they leave.
Yeah.
Not that I've ever done. Can students request who speaks in chapel? Is there any way that we can do that?
Technically, I got my dad in chapel. It was like hey, John, do you think my dad could speak in chapel sometime? And then he did. Sometimes it's a more straightforward process, but I don't think that's usually how it works. Not like, strictly speaking, there's a lot that goes into the approval process for a chapel speaker, even if we were to try to invite somebody outside into like an SGA chapel, because of needing to identify who the speaker is, what they stand for, what they communicate. We want to be very careful just bringing in whoever, to speak in chapel. So there's a much bigger process that goes on there. So I think the reason you don't have just open chapel submissions is there's a lot more that goes into that process. It's like, oh yeah, that would be a good person. So, I don't think it's a total shutdown, not open to any conversation. But I don't think there's a formal request process, no.
Good enough. Matt, would you ever want Donald Trump to speak in chapel?
Yeah. for sure. I would
Yeah.
want Donald Trump to speak in chapel.
I was thinking he'd be a good fit for SGA announcements.
You
Yeah,
make great announcements.
yeah, he would make America great again.
Yeah.
He would do. No, I really think it's important to both say and practice the need for a wide amount of information to evaluate. So yeah, I think Donald Trump, that would be a good way to practice that principle. If we're claiming to want a lot of voices, we gotta welcome Donald as well.
Yeah, cool. Would you rather die by fire or like burning or like drowning?
Yeah.
This one's
Kristen,
you.
this
Yeah, this is all you.
Yeah.
I mean,
Got your face. Would you rather burn to death?
it's got my face written all over. I would probably rather drown. I like water a lot more than I like fire. But like, I don't know. Why would you ask
It was on my paper.
that? Yeah, I'd rather drown.
What about you, Matt?
Yeah, drowning. I think there's a small chance that I have the ability to breathe underwater, but I've been too scared for my whole life to try. So yeah, if I got to the point where I needed to breathe in water and then suddenly found out that I could, that would be awesome.
You should try this. Steve.
I was always really scared of like open ocean and open spaces and being trapped underwater. I think fire would offer some sense of, well, at least I know exactly where this is going. Even though you would know that with, I don't know, drowning scares me. Water is kind of terrifying, which is bad because I grew up on the coast. So don't drown me.
Okay.
But I'll burn you alive.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Burns.
Go like a good
Steve would rather
heretic way.
burn alive. Steve, what is one of your most awkward dating experiences?
Junior year, high school, there was this girl that I had met on a mission trip, one of those short-term mission trip things. I hadn't had a girlfriend before. My school also had a no dating rule, actually, but I broke that. And it's a long, morally tumultuous. It was quite an experience, very shaping. Anyways, so she lived in Connecticut, which was my other mistake. And one time she invited me to go to her school was having a military ball, and like she was friends with somebody who was doing, I don't even know how she got there or why I was there, but we went, and like she just kind of hung out with her friends, and then they went to the bathroom like 4 times, and I was just sitting there in Connecticut with a bunch of people I didn't know, and it was really weird and unsettling, and I didn't belong, and it was a dance, and I didn't know how to dance either because my school didn't have dances. Yeah. And it just, I don't know, everything about it was really unsettling and uncomfortable. And it's just burning in my memory.
I'm so sorry.
But then we broke up.
Yeah,
So that was good.
That's good. That's good. Okay, do we have time for one more question to wrap it all up? Okay. Man, this is a beautiful question to wrap it all up. What is your favorite Bible verse and why? Let's start with Matt Pounds.
My favorite Bible verse and why. Wow, yeah, Adam, you only threw a curveball after I was thinking about how awkward Steve's date was. Incredibly.
Thanks.
Yeah, I feel kind of weird sharing this with YouTube. I guess my favorite Bible verse is in James. It says, the A portion of the verse, draw near to God and he'll draw near to you. Coming out of harrowing life circumstances, I had a friend point that verse out to me and kind of adopted it as a mantra because I think it really gets at some important things in terms of the individual practice of my faith that I don't really want to share on YouTube, but I'd be happy to talk about some other time. But those things being the active and supplicating part of my relationship to God, and then the reciprocal nature of his relationship with me. And it reminds me that I need to be disciplined in my faith and be making steps to draw near to God. That the infinite is always willing to reach to the finite. Yeah, so that's why it's my favorite.
Kristen.
My favorite book of the Bible is Ecclesiastes, which most people probably haven't even read. But it seems like a pretty negative book throughout the whole entire thing, because people just he keeps saying like vanity of vanities, all is vanity. So you kind of think, what's even worthwhile in the world? But it ends really encouraging, because the last chapter he comes to the conclusion of the matter and says, the conclusion of the whole matter is fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. And it seems like life is really difficult to understand, and try to figure out where we fit into it and what we're supposed to do, and to see the world just kind of fleeting, to know that our only responsibility is to fear God and to keep his commandments really like helps keep me grounded in what I'm supposed to be doing here.
There's a verse in Job 41 that said God sneezes out light, which I think is the coolest thing. But it's going to sound a little bit of a cop-out, but actually those are probably two of my favorite books, are Ecclesiastes and James as well. Ecclesiastes and kind of the material that has really spoken to me throughout college, but I think I would have to point to James, James 1:2-4, because it was a very massive turning point in my life. Basically what the verse says is, count it all joy, therefore, my brothers, whenever you encounter trials of various kinds, for you know the testing of your faith develops perseverance, and let perseverance have its complete work, so you may be mature and complete, lacking in nothing. And I think that really struck me for the first time when I was younger, going through the various trials of having lost my mom at a young age, having kind of gone through just a rather unpleasant middle school experience, just a lot of different factors. And I realized that those things weren't just like a negative part of my life, but they were meant to be counted as joy, because it was building me into something great. Like there was a purpose, there was a reason as to what I was going through. And I've started to realize that holds very true for all facets of life, not just, oh, it's fine, there's a reason, like God will shine through it, because sometimes there are just really terrible things we go through, and it's not very clear ever what that reason is. But to realize like we still can count whatever we experience joy, because we grow in God, we grow to know him more deeply, and we're living for something greater, we're living for something more than just our satisfaction on this world. And living with that perspective has been very life-shaping. As I started to realize, like, even in the worst of circumstances, there's still something that counts as joy.
Thanks. Hey, well, thanks everyone for tuning in. You sent tons of questions, and you can still ask them. Just come into the SGA office anytime. There's always someone from the SGA executive team that's here. We'd love to talk to you. They would love to talk to you. So come in, keep asking your questions. We love you all. I love you, Mom. And I think we're wrapping up, right? Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Study hard.